Hello and welcome to the pod, episode 33. And this is live as we're just recording this pretty much straight after the Dan Campbell presser. So we figured we'd do it live just in case kind of anything else moves, especially as we don't know who his staff is going to be. So that will obviously change our knowledge of that pretty soon. But before we start talking about everything that happened, there was a game of football, so I guess we'll talk about that in my home country, and the Dolphins shat everywhere. So I guess, should we talk about the first drive again? We did it last time with we can follow the pod at MiamiPod, the MiamiPod.com, joined by Ian Wharton. I should do that. So I guess the last time we talked about the first drive, and it was kind of similar this time. First play was pretty good run, even though Jamil Douglas got blown up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty good gain, and then threw it a load of times and got behind and kept throwing. And then, I mean, there was like a time in the fourth quarter where he could have maybe like somehow won that game. Somehow, like the Jets couldn't put it away.
Right.
But like that first half was just was pretty
It
horrible.
it went pretty much as like we almost expected, but you hope doesn't happen. Like,
Yeah, I guess you kind of like hope the coaching would at some point kick in.
right. That's where you
Logic.
make an adjustment as a coaching staff, is because like that's what's been happening against defenses like this, and they fell into the same trap that. I mean, and here's the thing too, is like they should have known, or like this is when you come out with a different plan when you're facing a coach that literally knows everything in the building because he's familiar with players, he's familiar with the schemes. Like it's not like Todd Bowles is a complete stranger. I mean, I know he wasn't here last year, but I mean,
But Casey Rogers was.
Casey Rogers was there, right? Like they know how the offense works. Like this is the moment where like you unveil some different type of strategy as opposed to the same wide receiver screens, the same, like I mean, I guess they did. They did actually do a little bit different later in the game when they kept trying those weird fades and one-on-one situations, which I mean, those aren't always bad choices. Tannehill was definitely missing on some of those throws, though. Do you want to talk about Tannehill a little bit? I mean, he played bad. He played bad. Like that was his worst game of the year, I thought.
I guess should we talk about like the main thing we learned, like what he can't do in this offense?
Okay. Yeah.
Because like a lot of people started like bringing this up, and there's been kind of like speculation about it. I think it was like Jeff Darlington, a couple other people basically saying he can't make checks at the line, or he can like change a couple of things within one play. So it doesn't look like you can check out of a play. Probably can just change the progression. I've never seen him check a hot, so I don't think he can do that. So it's probably he just checks like it's just a mental decision. He changes the progression. So maybe like generally you have two like concepts either side of the field. Quite often the Dolphins mirror the concepts. So maybe he just like changes which side of the field he throws to depending on matchup or safety alignment, something like that. That basically sounds like all he can do. And I think that was kind of one reason why you just see like those free plays where it's just a blitz and he's just literally throwing off his back foot at a slant.
Yeah, and to kind of expand upon that, from what Simon Clancy was saying, is basically has like four decisions every play, which I'm guessing two of them are plays where it's probably I'm guessing inside zone, or outside zone depending on, and then probably just like a screen that's built in, because those are
they
the
always
two
have
most
those
popular
screens.
plays, that you see. So, and then I'm
We really
guessing
don't
that
run much inside zone though. I doubt there's a run check. I really doubt it, just because the amount of times we like if there is a run check, we're not. He should be checking to the run so much more than he is.
let me
Okay.
let me clarify. Maybe
Okay.
post snap, it's more of like a post snap check.
Okay.
Like like when he does like the play action or he looks to just hit the screen, maybe he could actually drop that ball into Miller's stomach and let him go. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's speculation, but if people are saying he has a couple decisions, and you're right, because like that's where it's so confusing because Tannehill literally doesn't make any type of movement behind the line. So like I don't think he has protection duty, and I don't think he has. I mean, we know he doesn't have audible power. So the question is, does he have any type of check power?
He will
Um,
tell the back the odd time his like protection, but I mean because we use play action like a mesh point, so generally our backs aren't in pass protection and they go out to run routes so much. So the backs really aren't in pass protection that much. Um, and because we don't run the ball, the play action doesn't stop the pass rush. Um, so that doesn't really work in terms of like reducing pass rush. Um, but yeah, that I mean, and I guess what's infuriating, and maybe that explains why we don't have a no huddle, because generally the good no huddle offenses are you have a quarterback basically in control of the offense, and they'll call plays at the line of scrimmage, make adjustments at the line of scrimmage. If they're not willing to give Tannehill kind of power after a huddle to make checks, then that kind of that maybe illustrates more why we don't have more tempo to the line of scrimmage. Um,
do you
and
think that, and that's, I think that's like um, where it's really sticky because if Tannehill's not capable of that, that's a bad sign.
I mean,
Like,
wasn't he? Didn't he like study to be a brain surgeon or something? I mean,
yeah,
like
like, yeah, but I think there's a difference
there's
though
a difference,
between
yeah. But I mean,
football intelligence and intelligence. Like, yeah, I think he's a very smart guy. Comes off very articulate. Like off the field, I think yes. But and I'm not saying he's not football smart. I don't know. You know what
but
I mean?
I like.
Like there's so many questions that I have about this because we don't see him making checks. So is it a matter of Philbin and Laser, Philbin or Laser? You know, it could be one or the other. And or is it a matter of Tannehill? Is he just do they? I mean, they've never tried it, so it's hard to imagine
Yeah,
that that they are just literally just completely holding it off of his plate because he can't handle it. Usually, you would at least integrate it a little bit if you felt like if you had questions about whether he could do it. Um, I think it's more of the coaches not giving him total control more than he can't do it. I mean, it just seems preposterous because we see quarterbacks, do that stuff that aren't really smart football players. So it seems ridiculous. I'm just putting it out there because I don't know. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
It has to be quite like it. There's if it's not happening, we have to like
right?
question
Because
why it's not happening.
let me be honest. If he can't do it,
That's a massive issue.
you're wasting your
Yeah.
time. Like then I would completely change what I'm saying about Tannehill. I really would. I would say then you need to really tank or just get rid of him. Like that's how big of a thing it is for me. Like that's why it is scary to even think, and that's why I don't assume that that's the case because you are totally wasting your time with a quarterback if he cannot do that. Maybe not
Yeah,
even
'cause
full control, but at least enough
yeah,
control to to maintain an offense
it's not
at a
hard.
competent level. No, it's
It's,
really not. I mean, you basically have 6 to 10 plays that you in the offense should know,
and two of
and
them
be
are
able
run
to like,
plays that are this like inside and outside zone, so they're pretty much the same.
yep. And
When
all you have to do is flip the formation
yeah,
if you need to.
and that's
Um,
just defensive front orientated and secondary orientated, box orientated. I mean, that's just
yeah,
basically counting.
right. I mean, it's not. You're right. You're exactly right. It's not nothing that you see Peyton Manning do is that crazy. It's just he does it so efficiently and so consistently. That's what makes him amazing. But you can find regular quarterbacks that can do simple math pre-snap, make a read on who's showing blitz. That's why you wait till the play clock goes down if you want to do that, or you make a little bit of motion to see who's in man coverage, and then you can adjust from there. Like it's very simple stuff, and it's stuff that can just help the offense that much more. It's not necessarily revolutionary, but even if you know a little bit of what they're about to do, that helps a little bit. And that's what you don't see with this Miami offense. You don't see anything to make the pre-snap read easier. Now, are there things like Buster Screen continually blitzing off the edge, and then you just don't make that adjustment? Yeah, like that's a huge concern. But again, and I tell people this, like I really don't think Tannehill has the authority to do that. I think that's all. From what I see, it only makes sense to me if he doesn't have that responsibility. Like that to me
And he
is a
knows it's
Pouncey
coming 'cause he's
responsibility.
just literally flinging the ball away. So he
Right.
knows it's coming. He sees it coming.
And he's
But
throwing
then
it
his
usually
answer
into
is
the
different.
blitz, which is the
Yeah.
right call. Like you're supposed, I mean, that's generally the right call. Is you're throwing into the blitz because there's one less defender in that area. Um, it's a risky pass, yes, but you
It's either
know
that or get sacks.
right because you know what's happening on that side of the field. So, eh, I
So I
mean,
guess like
that's it's.
so
I
the
don't know.
like someone Robert Wilkinson just asked why wouldn't he want Tannehill audibling? My guess is they want to. They're control freaks. They want control, and we see this with I know Chip Kelly will apparently because they get to the line of scrimmage so quickly and they can have um, the mic on in the helmet whilst Sam Bradford's at the line of scrimmage, and they did this with Foles as well. They can actually talk to him and give him like uh, tell him like which throws where the progression should be depending on the defensive formation because they're like there with him, so they're basically like telling him what to think. Um, but like coaches, the nature of coaches is they want to control everything. So the
Yeah,
more they can control, the happier they
and
are.
Laser has that reputation.
Yeah, there's
He's
a
got the
reason why
reputation for that.
he's not been anywhere for long.
And Jake asked via Twitter, didn't Tannehill run pre-snap reads in Sherman's offense year one? You may remember better than I. I wasn't studying stuff back then. I was still in school, and I just didn't do that. You may remember that better than I, but that may be something I go back and look at because that
I
may be a really good point.
I think he had like a little bit more with Sherman, but it may have just been hot. Um, but I can't ever remember him doing a huge amount like at the line of scrimmage. Um, but like now he does nothing. It's like he'll
Yeah,
point
now
at Mike and Sam, and that's it.
it's yeah, and or he'll just flip his hand back to start the
Yeah.
motion, and that's it. Um, I mean,
Or tell
that's
guys
like
who are lined
that's
up the wrong
honestly
side.
that's honestly like high school stuff. Like we ran that in high school, like where the quarterback doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we'll have to see. I mean, I think the
Is there
next
any other reason that he's too dumb, or that the OC wants complete control? Is there any other reason? Like I can't think of one.
the only other one I could do is that the offense is set in such a way that you
Have an answer for everything, like built in, but there isn't. Like we've seen, there isn't.
um no, maybe he believes that, but I was going to go more with there's just a limited amount of things that they run from those formations. So maybe they've
Right.
specialized those formations so much. And I haven't paid attention necessarily to where guys line up exactly. And maybe that's something that I need to pay attention more to, like as far as spacing with the wide receivers. Um,
I've seen no real like trends. I don't know.
yeah, that's the thing is like even when I chart the or I know you're charting routes and I'm just doing
May
play
give up
designs
now.
at times. Yeah, even just looking at like play designs, like it's just very basic stuff. I don't
I'm not
know.
doing kind of like any of the triple option stuff anymore.
They've pretty
Um,
much gotten the
what was
option
I
out.
got?
We haven't seen any really designed runs. Um, it's this year. It almost seems more bastardized. Like if you would have told me this offseason that the offense got simpler, I actually would have believed that more than the defense.
All right, shall we move on to the defense? Because I guess that was the big
Yeah,
story before the game.
yeah.
Um, like a load of bullshit was coming out. Apparently, we're two gapping, which I've charted every single snap the defensive front's been in. We're like not two gapping at all. So I don't know if that's just like a player said something like there's literally national people saying like why is this 4-man front two gapping, and clearly they're just not watching, or it's just been like misinterpreted. It's just not happening. Um, And like, it's pretty funny that they're saying this after week one. People were talking about how can we stop cut blocks. It's like cut blocks are only effective when you're shooting gaps. So it's literally like contradicting what people were complaining about week one. So they're not too gapping. The defense isn't complicated yet. We keep hearing this stuff of like, I think it was Rappaport had something about like players complaining about how the defense is too complicated. I mean, if it's 4-3 over front with cover 3 is complicated, I mean, again, it's just like I can't like literally can't comprehend how stupid the players must be for that to be complicated.
What if it turns out that Tannehill's too dumb to do play checks, and then the defense is too dumb to run cover three every single play?
Then the
God,
coaches were never the problem.
what a revelation that would be. What if this was all just a horrible nightmare?
And like, yeah, it's just like, I mean, it's like frustrating because I mean, at least Tannehill can beat cover 3, and maybe that's
Yeah.
because he's had like a lot of practice. But just to like put into context, like the scheme isn't the problem. Like Seattle run cover 3 all the time. The Bengals run cover 3 quite a lot. The Vikings run it all the time. I mean, we even saw like literally. I think there was one play where someone said like Missy was in man coverage on Deco, where it was cover 3. That was a play where like almost exact same play where Harrison made a pick for the Vikings against Peyton Manning. So it's like you can, if you have the athletes, or if you just have good talent. Like we don't have talent at free safety, so again, like Akins had a really rough game. I don't know why. Did he just come in once the game was over again? But he played quite a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal with that is. He's been really rough.
Yeah, it really sucks. Like the moment I stand up for him, he then has like the games where people thought he was having.
Yeah.
So like now he's playing where some people thought he was playing on that level. Like he cannot be in man coverage as a safety. He's just getting torched on inside moves.
And we saw a cup, and there was like kind of like a big, along with, so like after all this stuff about how the defense is too complicated, they then went and made the defense more complicated by, for the first time, Grimes shadowing a wide receiver. I think maybe his first year here, he shadowed a couple of people.
Last year he did. Last year he did Jordy.
Okay.
I believe that was it though. I believe all he did was Jordy.
Okay. So he shadowed Brandon Marshall, which was terrible.
Yeah.
He got absolutely destroyed. And so I guess this is like one reason why you trust coaches to a certain degree is because players think that they're better than every other player. That's like, you have to think that as a player. But sometimes that's not the reality. And yeah, Grimes just got made look stupid and then hurt himself on a crosser. He didn't look stupid on that one. He just got hurt. But the other, I think it was like 2 or 3 plays, he just got completely destroyed. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, Bowman played pretty well after coming on, so I guess if you want some silver lining, I thought Pacing played pretty well when he came in for Jenkins, and he played a little bit more as well. So, and then we saw a like slightly more rotation of defensive tackles, but still, they're not playing well. They just don't have another free technique to play really, or they're not playing edge players in much. Fide didn't play much, neither did Wake. So that's kind of interesting that Fide maybe is hurt. We'll find out probably in a couple of. I don't think we'll find out for a week. We won't get an injury report. I don't think. But that's kind of interesting that he didn't play much. Was there any other kind of adjustments you saw after like the players allegedly asking for it to be simpler, but it really just got a bit more complicated?
Not really. They were playing the splits a little bit differently on the defensive line. I think they were definitely cheating toward the strong side over on Wake's side, I believe, if I remember correctly. So they were playing. I mean, it's not anything that different, but they were definitely cheating to try to open up more rushing lanes for the linebackers to shoot, and the linebackers were just 7-8 yards downfield. And I mean, no defense is going to be successful when you've got gaping running lanes and no one there to fill them. Like, you need good linebackers. So with Jenkins out, like Miami just didn't have anybody there. So it's
He came back in and played some more.
yeah, but just him being out, even just for a little bit, is just killing for Miami. And even when he's in there, like it's just there's not that much that one guy can do. It's one or two bad players that you can always target, and it leaves guys like Rashad Jones in a really tough situation because all of a sudden it's basically he and Jenkins as your only second level tacklers, and you can't have that. It's not a game like that. I mean, this is a game where you've got to gang tackle. You've got to, especially against Chris Ivory, like you've got to have multiple guys hitting him on every play.
I mean, OV's been terrible. Like, I think if anything, we found that like we've been kind of saying this the whole time. It's like the defense is really thin, and I think that's kind of what has been proven now.
Yeah.
And it's
like people bringing up the 5-2 front. You can't do that because you don't have any backups. Like, yeah, you've got your best 5 defensive linemen out there, and that's great. But you have one rotational player then that's not in.
And like we're already killing Mitchell.
Right, you're killing Mitchell. You're honestly
Phillips can't play. Literally,
you
get
can't
blown off the ball.
Yeah, you can't play him more than like 10 snaps a game.
Like even then, he's a liability.
Yeah, especially against the run for sure.
And like he's a fucking nose tackle. Like if your nose tackle's getting beaten 1-on-1 against a run, like maybe he's not a good player. Like I mean, I've said this. Like nose tackles take 3 years.
Yeah.
Like he's not.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing
but,
shocking that you're saying. I mean that's what
like
I had in my eval. Yeah, I mean that's what I had in my eval of him too. I mean I had him as a day 3 guy, so it's like that's a developmental player, and I don't know what to tell you if you're playing him sooner than 2 or 3 years because he's just a big body right now. And that's what I mean.
And for the people that say he's an athlete, he tested almost identical to Paul Solai, but is a bit lighter and smaller. So I mean, unless you're calling Solai, because so he was actually really bad in like my metric where it tests like for so like per mass or whatever, I can't remember the word, but like he's not that good athlete. It's just like another Anthony Johnson thing where I don't know, people just they don't actually play well, so then you have to make up a reason why they're good. I don't know. But I mean, Paul Solo pulled it around after 4 years. I mean, that's what I would expect, kind of with Phillips. But I mean, CJ Mosley's not doing really much either. We're not playing edge guys inside, so I still think that's Shelby does that odd snap.
Yeah.
We are like mixing up the groupings, so it's like Mosley played a bit with Mitchell, Phillips played a bit with Sue.
But by the way, that's more complex.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just don't understand like so many of the leaks at the moment. Like the 2-gapping one is just that one was just driving me insane because it's just like completely the opposite of what's happening. It's like the edge players are like I know one person said to me, it's like maybe they're just getting it mixed up with it's a read and react defense, but it's like you have to play the run first. You can't just pass rush and pretend that the run plays don't happen unless you're playing Miami, of course.
And that'd be credible too if Miami was getting a pass rush or if you were seeing guys shoot up field, but you're not seeing that even against the run. Like you're not seeing guys shoot up field. They're just not holding the edge because they're just not winning at the point of attack.
I don't know. Should we talk about? I don't know what to fucking say about that game. It was.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the fourth quarter, like that drive where?
Yeah.
I mean,
the touchdown they got called back
100 times, even though when the 2 line.
It's unbelievable. What do you think was up with all those fades? How bad was that? That was the most painful thing I think I've seen in a while. Like one that's not Tannehill's strength. He is not a good fade thrower.
And they're throwing it to Jennings or whatever.
But yeah, and then in fairness, let's look at who they're throwing it to.
Yeah.
And then three, you also have to look at the play in general, just from an NFL scope. It's an extremely inefficient play. It is very difficult to throw a good fade ball because you're working with very limited space. The cornerbacks can push wide receivers out of bounds once they're up in the air, which we saw with Jordan Cameron. Um, and you kind of need, and Jordan Cameron's not really the type to like out physical a guy in that situation. He's got the size for it, but he's more finesse. So when you're throwing it up to him, he's not gonna like go over the top like Des Bryant will and just rip it out of their hands. He's gonna kind of just try to like use his speed and more elusiveness. Which, I mean, I'm not trying to knock Cameron. It's just not his play style. And they just had guys like if you're doing that fade, you've got to have Devontae Parker in there. Like that's the only receiver that on this team. I don't mind it to Cameron. I don't mind it to Cameron if you have the mismatch, but I do mind it if it's to Greg Jennings or Jarvis Landry or anyone like that. Like those guys should not get the ball in a fade situation. Just try to run slant or try to run curls. I mean, I know that the crossing pattern to Parker, that was a pretty bad penalty, and Miami ended up, obviously imploding after that, even though they were almost right back in the game. But those are the type of plays that with this personnel that you're going to use. You're not going to use fades that often. I mean, I can appreciate like one per red zone trip. I'm okay with that.
I like third down. I don't mind it when it's a close game and you don't mind taking the 3 points. You don't want to turn the ball over.
Yeah,
Like
if
that's
it's
the only situation I do it.
yeah, and you'll see like the best quarterbacks in the NFL do that when you're third down in field goal range. It may be third and long or even third and short. If you watch Drew Brees does this a lot. So he'll just like if they're on like the 28-yard line and it's like 3rd and 4, he won't look at anything short. He'll literally just go for the touchdown. And that mindset is we're going to be aggressive because we know that they're sitting on underneath stuff. And if I hit this play, then great. If it's not, then maybe we make a 4th down decision, or we just take 3 points. You're right. That's a good example. That's where you take that shot. But don't get down to the 2-yard line and not run the ball or just try 3 or 4 straight fades. Like one, your quarterback has proven that he's not good at it, and two, you're not using your personnel effectively. Like that was probably the worst. The ugliest part of the game for me was probably that red zone sequence. I mean, they literally had 8 plays to score a touchdown. I know the one shouldn't have been called back, but you're on the 2-yard line. Yeah, I mean it was. So you're right. Like coulda, woulda, shoulda. Sorry, but it was as bad of a call as it may have been. That is what it is.
Lots of people were complaining about Devontae Parker not getting the ball. I mean, he was on the field. I think there was one person who was like, someone was complaining that like Philbin sets the depth chart, not Laser. That's why so he's to blame that he's not getting the ball. I mean, Laser calls the plays and Devontae Parker's on the field. Like they can. I don't get that argument at all.
I just feel like people are so anti this coaching staff, and especially Philbin. Like I've got a lot of Laser truthers that I've run into, and I just don't understand it. I don't understand the argument for one person and against one person. Like
they're all bad.
Yeah, and you also just can't make up stuff either.
Yeah.
Like Parker's been out there. He may not be the primary read, and maybe okay if you want that to be your complaint, okay. I understand that, but you can't say that like Philbin's keeping him on the bench. That's not what's happening. We've seen Parker. I don't have PFF access anymore, but
he's at I think he had 34 odd snaps.
I mean, you're not gonna really. I mean, ideally, would he be playing more than that? Sure, but I mean, I don't know.
It's not like we've got a thin wide receiver room. I mean,
right. Like you've got Rashard Matthews producing. You're always going to play Jarvis Landry. Now, should they be playing Parker more than Jennings? Yes, I agree with that. And maybe that's the big complaint. I would agree with that at this point, but
And let me just see. I noted how many times. Um, so Parker only played 23 snaps. I had Jennings at 38. So
Okay, so then that's probably a legitimate concern. I mean, that should probably change.
15
Um,
snaps there. I mean, like Kenny
it's
Stills
not. It's
28 as well. So it's not like
right. You
Devontae
got
Parker's
Stills.
like that far behind people.
Yeah, yeah. You've got Stills. I mean, and look, there may be issues there too. There may be you may be seeing a guy that hasn't mastered the playbook. Um, as little as they run, you know, I think it's possible that he just may not be fully acclimated to the playbook.
Cameron played every snap though, so that's a good sign for his health. I would assume that they will, but if he stays healthy, I think he will get an like a
Yeah,
restructure at the end of the year.
yeah.
He's
Especially
been
because
probably the best player.
Miami seems primed to kind of trim the fat on some of these aging veterans. Miami can open up, by the way, if they cut Brent Grimes, Bryce McCain, and Cameron Wake. You're already looking at almost $30 million in cap space
Probably
because they're
take
gonna.
Mitchell probably goes as well. You don't draft Phillips without.
Well, yeah, and then if you want to start opening it up, because I just did it before the show, they can open up to like $50 million plus whatever they can roll over. So I mean, you're looking at almost like 50 million. Yeah, Missy was one of them. So yeah, I mean, cap space isn't going to be an issue for Miami. The thing is, what they have to do with that cap space is they're going to have to use it effectively and get guys like Josh Norman, someone like a true impact player in their prime. And I know that you don't want to rely on free agency, but you might want to get like one guy like that, and then just try to like fill out the depth on the roster. I mean, people keep talking about money next year. Money's not going to be an issue. Like there's so much salary cap space allowed in the NFL right now. You're not overpaying any receivers. You're not overpaying any linemen because you can cut Brandon Albert next year if you want to cut him, and save $5 million. So like Miami's going to have, they're not overpaying a linebacker and you're not overpaying any defensive back. So it's like there's a lot of room there to work with. So I know I don't mean to already look forward to next year, but I'm just kind
I
of
mean, we
saying
are
this
now.
because I know because we've
Season's
seen it.
over.
Yeah, and people have already talked about it. It's like this is going to be a really attractive job to people because they're going to look at what has happened under the Philbin era, and they know that what's happened here is like one of the worst coaching situations in the NFL, and they also know. I mean, everyone I've talked to has always said the NFL is high on Ryan Tannehill. They like Ryan Tannehill. Other coaches like him. Other teams would want him if they had the chance to get him, they would. Um, so I mean, I think this is a situation where look, you've got stars at defensive tackle, quarterback, and strong safety. You've got good pieces at weak side linebacker and Jelani Jenkins. Um, Wide receiver room is deep. You can have a lot of fun with that wide receiver group. The right offensive coordinator is going to love that group. And maybe you just have to replace Matthews depending on his free agent status.
But you don't really need
Um,
to replace him. You've got Hazel already. That's like your fifth wide receiver. I don't think you
right,
need to replace him. You've got
right.
like
So maybe someone wants to invest on like maybe a different wide receiver instead of Jennings or something.
yeah,
I don't know,
maybe.
but I mean that's kind of irrelevant when you get to the point. The fact is like there are a lot of positives on this roster, and I think that you'd see a different coaching staff really take advantage of the offensive line talent, especially if they can come in with a high draft pick and maybe add another offensive lineman to that mix. And I mean, I know we're
I
shooting
would.
for the moon with the guy that we're going to get for our candidate of the week. Um, but I mean, if they were able to, and we're going to get to him, but if they
Should we
were to,
start that now then?
yeah, I
Let's do
guess
that.
so,
We'll
because I
talk
might
about
as
Baby
well.
Shan.
Yeah, we're talking about Kyle Shanahan. Uh,
Um,
he's our dream boy for the
so
position.
I guess like for me, why he makes sense is like you have a young um, offensive group at the moment. I think only Jennings and Albert are over 26. I know Tannehill's now over 26 as well. So that's how young, like that's out of starters. That's how young that room is, or that group side of the ball. So ideally, you want, and it's like 4 first-round draft picks in the last 5 years on that side of the ball. So you kind of want to get someone that is going to be like harmonious with that side of the ball. Whereas on the defensive side, as we said, there's a lot of moving parts there. You've pretty much got you have to stay basically with a 4-man front, especially with this stuff coming out about how the players don't want a 2-gap. So you're definitely not going to 3-man front now. So basically, I mean, you could probably still run a 4-3 under that has some 2-gapping in base, but not a huge amount. Or we can get to that later with like a couple of the defensive coordinators we would partner with, Kyle. But like offensive line wise, we've seen with like they're in, like Atlanta had a pretty bad offensive line of late. And I mean, I think people hated Jake Matthews first year, but people are stupid. The expectations with rookies nowadays.
Yeah,
He's looking really good now. He's a good player, so he was always going to be good.
Yeah.
But
By the
he
way,
was hurt.
probably top 10 left tackle now already. So surprise.
Yeah. So yeah, chill on rookie tackles, especially hurt ones. But basically, for me, I know a load of people want to do the opposite of what's happened and go to like a power gap scheme. But you've got Juwan James, you're running a zone. You've got, I mean, Pounce you can do kind of anything with, but I mean, Juwan James, you've got to run zone. You can't do anything else, and you can't play him at guard. So
Yeah,
he's a finesse right tackle. You've got to live with that. So Shanahan, like you could keep John Benton. He would actually run the ball some. He would use Devontae Parker properly.
Yeah, Devontae Parker becomes your Julio Jones. Running backs, we've obviously seen he's helped Devontae Freeman become like a
Yeah,
star.
Jahi would be so good.
Yeah, Ajayi, and if they kept Miller,
He'd be really good.
even if they didn't keep Miller, they'd probably invest a day 2 or day 3 pick into a running back, and then you'd have Ajayi and whoever that back is as studs. And you know, it's man, it's just like he would be like the perfect hire. Now, let me say this: now last year we saw with him to take a lateral move from Atlanta, I think would be pretty surprising as an offensive coordinator.
He would be a head coach, or at least an assistant head coach with his dad taking like the honorable role.
Yep. And that was my question, because last year he interviewed with his dad for the Oakland Raiders job. I was going to say, now, are you okay with Big Shanahan joining the Dolphins as well? Because now that would fulfill Ross's want for the big honcho, big name, proven coach. And I think it would really suffice for a lot of fans too that want that NFL experience coach. And he's got the cachet. He's got a lot of success on his resume. He's a guy that likes Tannehill. He's proven to like Tannehill. He said it every single time he possibly can that he would have taken Tannehill over RG3, which look, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but I think he's been right on RG3 more than anyone else and before anyone else was. What do you think of Big Shanahan joining the staff too? I mean, do you think he would be offensive coordinator? Because technically you kind of have to give that head coach role to Shanahan, to baby Shanahan, right?
I'm not sure if you would. I think maybe like Kyle would give it would be interesting because maybe now he's done enough on his own where he would like have the kudos to take the job. But I think he might be happy for his dad to be the head coach, or maybe be the OC and he calls plays, but then his dad does like the head coach type things.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like what Miami had with Philbin and Laser. From what people say, is that Laser's more of the enforcer on the offensive side of the ball. So I mean, maybe that wouldn't be too foreign. Although I don't like that structure.
I would see it more like
I would trust the Shanahans to do that more than
I would see it be more like Philbin in Green Bay. So he would just be kind of like the wise head, and then you have McCarthy calling plays as the head coach, or like where else has kind of been the head coach calling plays? I guess like is Arians calling plays as head coach? Pretty sure.
So. I think he
Andy
is.
Reid does as well. Chip Kelly. So quite a few people are head coaches
Yeah,
and core plays, and then he
people
just
only question it when it doesn't work, but
yeah.
I mean, it's usually fine.
Um, and then maybe you just and now with like we've seen with kind of a couple of teams having analytical departments upstairs to like make decisions on game time decisions like field goals, going for it on fourth down, stuff like that. Maybe you bring something like that in if you want to go like high tech, um, or like more analytics orientated, which like Tenenbaums seems to be pushing. So maybe that's kind of one reason. Because I guess that's like the main reason against playing calls is you maybe don't have as much of a grasp on the game as a whole because you're kind of in that microcosm. Um, is there anything else you kind of want to talk about? I mean, like Shanahan did a great job. I mean, like he did a really good job that first year with RG3 even playing to his strengths, and he's like,
Yeah,
to me, the best thing about him is like how well he adapts
yeah.
to
Go check
quarterbacks.
out what he did in Cleveland last year.
Yeah, it was a really good job.
Like that was insane. Like I was watching them, and just like this guy literally made Brian Hoyer look like a competent NFL quarterback for like 13 weeks. Like it's really hard to do. The production that they got out of their wide receiver and backup tight ends was super impressive, and they're still basically trying to use what he instilled there with John DeFilippo, even though he's different. They're still using a lot of those same principles to be productive with a guy like Gary Barnidge at tight end, who's like a second-rate receiver at tight end. He's nothing special. I mean, he's played well, but he's nothing special. Um, this is
But
the,
I think
he
you need
runs an offense that you want to emulate, and if you can have the guy that actually runs it, I mean, it's just I can't tell you how impressive of a hire that would be.
do you think you have to go with an offensive head coach just because of the way that the roster is constructed at the moment?
Not necessarily, but
They need to have a plan for the offense that like
yeah,
I
you've got to
think.
have
So
yeah
that's why
because
I
you're
would lean offensive court like offensive mind right
yeah
now because
because
it's
you're
set in stone.
right exactly because your offense is basically is what it is. You're not going to really do a fire sale on most of these players on the offense. A lot of these guys are established and they're in contract for multiple years. Tannehill on the worst case scenario is under contract for 2 more years. Unless if someone comes in and they really love Jared Goff, and Miami somehow has a chance at Jared Goff, and they take him and want to just sit him year one, then play Tannehill and trade him, kind of like a San Diego move. Unless if you see something like that, which that would be pretty crazy. Um, you know,
It won't happen. I mean, like Jay Cutler's
it would
still.
be yeah. I mean, I'm just saying like it would be unbelievable, but in the craziest scenario, I mean, who knows? Maybe Goff falls like Teddy. I don't know. We see really crazy stuff happen. Maybe Goff tears an ACL. I mean, let's knock on wood, but you know,
Maybe
stuff.
Hackenberg is good.
Yeah, maybe Hack. I mean, quietly though, he did play better
Yeah,
like 2 weeks ago.
yeah, he was
Um,
really yeah.
I didn't
But
watch last week, but anyways, weird stuff happens. If someone wants to change the core of this team, they're going to be able to change the defensive side of it way easier than the offensive side of it. They could trade Tannehill at some point if they wanted to trade him, but they're going to have to deal with big cap ramifications for that. And so, I mean, I'd have to look at the contract, but it's probably not feasible until 2017, not 2016.
I mean,
So
no one trades quarterbacks.
it would be insane.
Yeah.
It would be unprecedented. But then again, they did just promote their tight end coach, the head coach. So that's kind of unprecedented too. So do you want to get into that next?
Oh, we'll talk about first who we think Kyle Shanahan will bring on the
Oh
defensive
yeah,
side of the ball.
DC.
So
Okay.
yeah, because we're just trying to like basically we're just doing kind of like dot to dots here.
Yeah.
But we did like a mini production meeting in our DMs, and luckily we did it because we both came up with the same defensive coordinator. So I think Ian actually did some work after and came up with another one. But we both went with Gus Bradley, and so kind of for my logic for that is he probably won't have a job at the end of the year, so that kind of makes it easier. Relatively in terms of like the core pieces, you have some pretty good fits in Rashad Jones and Sue. I think they both fit into that well. Even Terrence Fede, as a base end that then plays nickel free technique, kind of that Michael Bennett role, but probably more effective on the edge. If Dion Jordan comes back and can play football, you have a Leo as well, which is, or Elephant, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I mean, I think it's pretty clear he hasn't worked as a head coach, but he worked pretty well, I think, as a pretty good defensive coordinator, and did well with kind of like low picks. I think Rashad Jones is pretty similar. Like, you can utilize in that strong safety, like almost as a linebacker. Jelani Jenkins could almost use like a Telvin Smith as well. There's kind of like other players like Neville Hewitt you could use in that role as well. Even like you could play Jelani Jenkins at middle linebacker. I think they kind of want range and athleticism at that position, and like dropping in coverage more than most, so that I think you can get away with that. And then Kyle Shanahan at the moment is the Atlanta are running that same 4-3 under. So kind of the difference in between the two defenses. Do you want to? I've been talking for enough. Do you want to talk about the differences in a 4-3 under and over? Or the back end's pretty much the same. There'll be a lot of cover 3. You might just get a bit more physical corners.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as far as the back end. You're probably going to see a little bit more length, a little bit bigger guys. Tony Lippett probably comes into the picture.
Maybe play at corner again.
Akins, yeah, you're probably moving him back to corner, at least trying it. That'd probably be the smart decision, because those guys, as far as size, is really what you want as far as physicality.
They're still probably a year or two away, though.
Right. Especially Akins, if you're going to move him back to corner, you're probably looking at another year or two to kind of really get the most out of him. So
at least if you have depth, I mean, that's not a bad thing. You need to have depth.
So, but the secondary needs remade anyways. So you got a nice slot corner in Jamar Taylor. He'd be fine at slot corner. Bobby McCain is a really good backup slot corner in case he doesn't work. So like, all you'd have to really find is like 2 starting corners.
and an elite free safety. So not hard.
But here's the good news.
Just the 300 positions. Should we talk about the front then? Because
in fairness, though, they would be. I will just say this real quick though. Last thing on corner is they might be able to get Josh Norman, and that would really help. Like that would they could do Norman and then just like So
I doubt they can let him go, but you never know.
I'm praying because I love him.
Yeah, he's been balling out. I have all my IDP leagues for people that care about my fantasy. I mean, I don't think people care about people's fantasy football teams, let alone people's IDP fantasy football teams. But there you go. Should we talk about the front 7 then and how that kind of differs? Because that's like the main change. If you were to go to, if you had Gus Bradley or like someone of his ilk.
Yeah, so like currently what you see from what Miami does a lot of now is you'll see a lot of 4-3 under for what Miami does, and that puts the defensive tackle really into, like, you could say, like in Dominic Sue's role. Minnesota runs basically the same front defense. We've seen Sharif Floyd have a ton of success with that, and then you've seen in Cincinnati, again with the same role, you've seen Geno Atkins have a ton of success. Like it's really a scheme made for what Miami does in terms of like with the star defensive tackle, a guy that can win with speed, a guy that can win with power. So you really want him to shoot gaps. You want that star to just kind of shoot the gaps with his speed, get upfield, and it does a nice job of really maximize that front 4 talent from that defensive tackle spot. And it's kind of interesting because you really don't see it a ton. I don't think. I'm just trying to think league wide. Like, you don't see it a ton if you don't have that started defensive tackle. I could be wrong there. Can you think of anything? Anyone that runs it without star defensive tackle?
I guess Minnesota don't really have a star. Like, I don't think Sharif Floyd's that good yet.
Yeah, he's really good at like one thing, and that's like speed rushing upfield. But anyways, it's a gap control system. So like you're trying to stop the run. You're kind of cheating to stop the run. I'll say that. You'll see Cam Wake in like the wide 9 quite often. So like he's on the outside shoulder. of the tight end. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to funnel guys into the linebackers by using the gaps, and then you have that penetrating three technique of a defensive tackle. So, and then I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. You might have a better way to explain it compared to the 4-3 over. Um,
Or then,
it's just a different stagger, really.
yeah. And
Um,
then so that you normally have the weak side linebacker isn't stacked over the free technique. He's loose, and then you have your Sam linebacker also plays as an edge and nickel.
yeah, no, yeah, that's a good. Okay, yeah. So like to help visualize it, like think that you've got Jelani Jenkins is always off the ball, so he's always like kind of behind the defensive tackle and defensive end on the weak side of the formation. So like wherever there's not the tight end or extra running back, and then on the strong side, which is again where the tight end or extra running back is going to be, they're closer to the line of scrimmage. They're going to be like almost on the line of scrimmage, if not on it. Maybe that's the best way to explain it.
And then in nickel, they will be hand down.
Yeah, it might be easier to visualize than try to explain it, but I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. Like when you look at Miami's base defense setup, pay attention to the linebacker that is closest to the line of scrimmage, and that's going to be the strong side linebacker.
But I don't think there's not really a huge amount of difference changing over. Just like you probably a player like Ovi wouldn't be. He'd probably be more useful because you'd play him inside more, but you wouldn't have him on the edge as a 3-down player. Wake, I don't think Wake would. Would you play Wake as a Leo, but just in nickel?
Boy, that's not a bad idea. He'd have to drop weight because I think he added weight this offseason.
Okay.
From what someone was saying on Twitter, I think it was Spoon.
He might just be hurt.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him, but
he's been on the injury list the whole time, after week 1. So
yeah, they need him. Yeah, they need him like fully back though.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to who your defensive coordinator would be with Kyle Shanahan, and then we'll get on to the firings and hirings?
Yeah, so like I would prefer Gus Bradley because I'm more familiar with his work. I'm more familiar with his success. But in the instance that they may not fire him, which is always possible.
Do you think he is a good coordinator then, or do you think he was just kind of a product of that system? And
I think it's hard to know. It's hard to know, but I think he's a good coordinator. I mean, I'm a fan of him. I'm even a fan of him as a head coach, honestly. Like watching him run practices at the Senior Bowl for 2 years in a row. Like I like how he runs his practices.
That's a really bad sign when a head coach has been to this Senior Bowl 2 years in a row, though.
It is. I do think though, like the Jags really haven't set them up for success with drafting talent. They've really only drafted like 2 impact players, maybe 3 if you count Telvin Smith. So
yeah, I'd count Telvin.
So like, it's not like they've done a good job drafting there.
And like Allen Robinson's been banged up a lot.
Yeah, so like their best player that they drafted has been hurt, and Blake Bortles, like he's just super inconsistent, and it's just like, so I don't know about him as a head coach. Luckily, Miami wouldn't have to worry about it in this situation. I would fully trust him as a defensive coordinator, and if he doesn't work out, then you really know about him. But it's like he never had the talent in Jacksonville that he needed, and I don't know if that's because he's not good at identifying it, or if it's just because they just didn't get the right guys. I mean, I don't know. They've made fairly average talent in that secondary play fairly well, so they just don't have a star, and they haven't done a good job of finding safeties either. No. So I mean, you need someone that can find the talent with him, which you could say that for most guys. You could say that about Sean Payton too. So like, don't freak out if I say that because.
Or Chip Kelly maybe.
Or even Chip Kelly. So like, don't freak out when people say that because it's really, really hard to find some talent, and a lot of guys fail at it. So, but anyways, the defensive coordinator I would go with that I think would make sense with, that I'm going to name, I wouldn't necessarily go with, but if you can't get Gus Bradley, Raheem Morris is a guy that makes a lot of sense based off of connections that Shanahan has. So Raheem Morris was with the Washington Redskins for 2 seasons. in which Shanahan was at the Redskins. He was the defensive backs coach there, and he is currently with the Atlanta Falcons as the defensive backs coach and assistant head coach, which means that he is in line for a defensive coordinator position again. He has not been a defensive coordinator since 2006 at Kansas State, but he was a head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2009 to 2011. So you're looking at a guy rebuilding his stock. He's had access to a couple different defenses since Tampa Bay. So he's gotten access to, the Washington defensive system under Jim Haslett, and then obviously the Atlanta Falcons now under Dan Quinn. So he's kind of coming from that same umbrella as Gus Bradley. So it's probably more of like a personality fit if you prefer Morris, and more of a defensive back approach, or Gus Bradley. And I think Bradley was a defensive line coach. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, I mean, most of these guys know that stuff anyway. I mean, you'll see,
And
like,
they'll coach at multiple positions as well.
yeah. So like,
Gary.
there's not always like a one pure position. It actually looks like Bradley, most of his experience came from linebacker position.
Yeah.
So front seven guy. So it kind of depends on what you want there. Really, to me, it's more about personality in that instance and the ability to adapt to what the talent that you have. Because both of these guys are kind of similar as far as like they're what they come from now, especially if Raheem Morris takes more from Dan Quinn than he does from more of like the Tampa 2 system, which he shouldn't want to run anything like that, because that's just an outdated system. But I think he's an interesting name just based off of because he was supposed to be like the hot young coach when Tampa Bay hired him. They couldn't get any of the really big names, and so they went with Raheem Morris because he's a guy that's been in the building. He was a player's coach.
Both of those guys have worked with Hickey as well. Both have been at Tampa. So there's another dot to dot as well for you.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Because Gus Bradley was at Tampa before, wasn't he? Position coach before he went to Seahawks. So there you go. Accidental. We're finding dot to dots even when we haven't designed them. That's how good we are at this. This is basically how beat journalism works. You just look for dot to dots and then make a story out of it.
But I mean, in fairness, though,
it's how the league works.
It is, yeah. It's actually how the league works. I mean, it's kind of sad and kind of pathetic, but I mean, guys want to be able to build a staff with guys they're familiar with. So, I mean, it might be lazy.
And it's one reason why, like, you see all these former Packer players like saying how much they love Philbin because they trust him. And
right.
It's like, and probably why Philbin got, like, it seems like a couple of reports why Philbin got fired is because he didn't want Coyle to get fired, and he didn't want Sherman to get fired. And that's probably why Philbin will get a job really quickly because he's like respected by his peers.
And he was good at whatever he did in Green Bay, and I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay just picks him back up. That's really not something too uncommon. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens next for him. But one thing I've heard too is we'll get to that next week because I mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some interesting candidates out there for Miami. I think we both agree that Shanahan is probably the strongest that will.
I think he's the easiest where like he doesn't need to leave somewhere because it's a promotion, and it's not like based on him getting fired. Maybe it sounds like the Colts job will be up as well, going by Albright. I think that makes sense. Yeah. So,
but I don't think they'd be a true contender for him just because
of the scheme. There's probably he would need to do so much with that line and stuff like that.
Yeah, scheme, but also personality. So if you remember, Shanahan did interview for the Dolphins offensive coordinator job, and the reason why they took Laser over Shanahan was what one person reported was that it was personality based, which is kind of weird because Laser's personality is maybe Laser's just like worse than Shanahan. I don't really know what that's supposed to mean.
I've been told by someone that Shanahan like had a different feeling from it, so maybe it wasn't as much.
Okay, so maybe it's from his side. Okay.
So it may have been more that Shanahan turned it down, and then Miami kind of put it out that they didn't want him. That's kind of what someone has indicated to me. So
okay, that would make sense.
But then there are people in like Washington that said he's prickly, and there's other reports that he's been bad interview and stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know people in Cleveland were obviously rubbed really, really,
Yeah,
really the wrong way, and so part of that sour grapes. Part of that sour grapes. So you have to take that situation in perspective. I mean, that ownership situation is terrible, so I don't blame him for getting out of there. But he has bounced around a lot, so like that could be a red flag for people.
in the same
And
way
then
as for Laser, but at least he's like
at least he's really
really
good.
effective.
Yeah, he's super good. Like
Yeah.
a Kyle Shanahan team when you see one, and that's like the ultimate compliment that you can say for someone. So another strong one that we're not going to get to today, but Josh McDaniels, I think he would be right up there with Shanahan for me as far as like offensive coaches, because I think you're right. I think that I would like to see an offensive coach. I think that that's really where this team needs the help. But
And there's less flexibility
yeah,
within the roster, so you kind of need to handpick for that, and then you can move around the defense. That's kind of how I feel. So I think in midweek we'll do Hugh Jackson and Mangini profiles. So watch out for those, and we'll keep banging through guys as we go. So I guess the news that Twitter's all happy about is Joe Philbin was fired after the game, and now Dan Campbell is the interim head coach. Dan Campbell was the tight ends coach, and just to put that in perspective, that's basically the lowest coach in the hierarchy. So I think that's kind of like shots across. I think like you reported, you were doing your sources that Coyle will be gone, but at the moment it looks like Dan Campbell's going to pick his staff, and we haven't really had anything out about who that will be. So we'll still, maybe we'll find out by the time we finish this.
yeah,
But I mean, I guess that's kind of like the other kind of candidates it sounded like was Rizzi, the special teams coach, or I mean, like Duffner is the other guy who's like had a high up position, but maybe because he's close with Coyle, they didn't want to do that, because then it'd mean they would definitely keep Coyle.
yeah.
So we'll see what happens with Coyle. It sounds like Laser's going to stay, but I mean, the fact that her tight end coach got promoted over him, I think, speaks volumes. And I mean, is pretty much being the worst play caller in the NFL right now, offensively anyway. So, I mean, so you enjoyed Campbell's presser by the sounds of things.
I did. I was ready to go out there and suit up and just run some Oklahoma drills and just get my brain beaten in again. Yeah, like he's definitely a guy that like you want to play for. He talked about competition. He talked about firing on all cylinders in practice, and getting the best out of guys. And I mean, I was always playing for coaches like that, and so for me, I'm drawn to that. I like that because I responded to that. It gets my blood going. Like right now, like I even just thinking about the press conference again, my blood's going. I'm ready to play. That's just me.
I guess the thing is, he is a player's coach because he's not too far off being a player.
Right.
He
He was a
was,
player, what, like 5 years ago?
yeah, and then he was an
So,
intern, coaching intern. So he was last with. So he's actually been like followed kind of like a lot of Parcells kind of things. He was with the
yeah.
Cowboys. Then his last time he was on a roster was with the Saints, so with Sean Payton, so another Parcells disciple.
So by the way, real sneaky storyline here that I had someone tell me about too. They were like,
Maybe we
Miami.
should bring in Payton.
They were like, wait and see what happens with this interim coach thing, because if it's Campbell, you can see the Parcells influence. And they said, if that happens, don't be surprised if Parcells tries to sell Sean Payton on this job. So
Okay, so then
like this is a good thing. Like this is a good thing in terms of
the Saints aren't going to let him go, though, are they?
I don't know, man. I
Like,
don't know what's happening down there.
when was
Like
the last time a Super Bowl winning coach got fired? It's not like his contract's coming up or something.
Brian Billick.
I guess, but then That was
I mean,
like
it's been about that time. Like if Breeze goes down, or if Breeze like clearly just like craps the bed, which I know he looked good the
he
other
looks good,
night.
yeah.
Um, but if he just like totally falls off, I wouldn't. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe it's a trade scenario where they just like where they're gonna be like, we're open to trading him, but we're not gonna fire him type of thing. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. It seems like a pipe dream because I agree with you on one hand, but then also that's only a team that's won the division 3 times since they've gotten Drew Brees. Like they should be way better than what they were for a long time. And so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you can say the same with the Giants. I know they got 2 rings, but I mean, just like
Yeah,
we talk about this a
but
lot. Like rings give you jobs for a long time.
they do. Yeah, especially in that New Orleans area,
Yeah,
and especially when they won the Super
yeah.
Bowl. I mean, like it's like I feel bad saying bad things about Drew Brees on the internet because I've got a decent number of Saints followers too for some reason, and I love you guys. And I mean, but whenever I say something bad about Brees, like they just attack me, and like I can't relate with them, and it's not their fault, but like my quarterback's never won a Super Bowl, so like I can't relate with that feeling of you've sat there and watched a Hall of Fame quarterback for this long period of time. He won you a Super Bowl, and then now to see his decline, like I just can't relate with that. So, on one hand, it's like, should they move on from Peyton? I can't sit there and say, like, especially if they miss out on Goff. If they miss out on Goff, like they're going to probably be waiting a while to find a decent quarterback. Now, if they get Goff, he's like the perfect quarterback
Mm.
for Sean Payton's system. So, I don't know. I just know like it's a convoluted situation. There's rumblings that like Miami and Parcells are still like Stephen Ross still relies on him for information and um, for advice. So I don't know. It's like I
That
said,
would explain the Jordan Phillips pick.
right. So I
Uh,
mean, just I don't know. I don't know if Tannenbaum and Parcells obviously have a relationship. So I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I don't want to like go like I don't know ghost
bring
hunting
back
here,
Tony
but
Soprano. We're gonna go past ourselves.
oh Jesus,
Or
dude!
at
I
least
saw I
Ross
saw
hates him.
someone
That's all right.
I saw someone mention Mike Sherman could be named as like a Jay Glazer. I think did. I think
Okay.
Jay Glazer even
I,
mentioned
I
him.
think like high school team buyout would be pretty low.
I mean, they may be able
That's
to
the
like
advantage.
they might be able
Do
to
both.
put them on loan. Like
We can get some high school players. I mean, we might do a bit better. But seriously now, like for anyone that's like got as excited as Ian, like to be
it,
like if there's any changes to the coordinators, even if there isn't, I mean the season's over.
yeah,
If
yeah, like this, it's an exciting move to sit here and see him talk. And you're maybe hoping for like slight improvements and to maybe win some
to be
games.
honest now, I don't want to win any games. I want to get the best pick and probably get like MDK or something.
Yeah, we'll have to do we'll have to
So
do it. We'll have to do a draft talk one of these episodes because
every episode now we'll be doing top 10
maybe
prospects.
we'll just keep getting that now. So like, well, okay, so for real quick, like my expectations for the rest of the season, maybe to just see them win a couple games that like they probably should win, as opposed to like with
It might be
Philbin.
the Texans and the Colts. Like that's my expectation now. I don't think it's going to be like the team's already quit. It's really hard to like
Yeah,
unquit.
yeah.
And as much as the players are saying they're playing for themselves, I mean they're not. They're not trying.
No,
It's
you saw
ugly.
it last game. You saw it last game. The effort was pathetic.
And unless like it's all fine for Dan Campbell to say, "Oh, we're going to practice harder" and all shit like that. Like I don't think the analytics side of the team will allow him to, for one. Um, or if they do, like or basically like if he's going to have to override that side of the organization. Um, so it'll be interesting if they give him that amount of power. I somewhat doubt it. Um, so that could just be kind of like he's coming in with bravado, not knowing kind of like what the extent of that's going to happen. Um, I mean, he's not going to really know much about special teams or the defensive side of the ball. So then if you're losing Coyle, you're relying on like one coach who's been the DC for 1 year, Duffner. I think he like maybe I think he was like a head coach of like some high school teams and stuff. Um, but he's like pro being a defensive coordinator for 1 year. So you've got, I mean, it's a pretty inexperienced
Yeah. So
staff.
it could get pretty ugly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Offensively,
I
like Benton is the most experienced coach, and he's
yeah,
just been an O-line coach. Like Laser's done, he's just been a quarterbacks coach and now an OC in the NFL
yeah, and you
for
can
a
see
year.
just totally outclassed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and here's and like the Coyle thing, we're gonna see because what I know, what I heard, and what a couple other people had reported, like either I think Simon Clancy almost had it like simultaneously, and then a little bit later, some of the beat writers, and then I think Ian Rappaport had said that it's very likely that Coyle is gone. I had heard that Coyle was gone. Like I had heard that that was made last. That decision was made last night, along with the Philbin decision, um, and then it was just a matter of them announcing it. And then we heard all of a sudden that he gets to pick his own staff. Dan Campbell is going to pick his own staff. So like I don't know if that was the information that I had gotten, if like that was part of the equation. I haven't heard anything back in like 3 or 4 hours now. So I don't really know what the news is. We haven't heard anything since then. Is that he's going to pick his own staff? I still think Kevin Coyle's probably fired.
But it's
And
going to be
then
it'll be the exact same defense.
it'll be the
You,
same defense,
you
but I
don't
think that
change. You
they're.
can't change anything. So
It's true, but what you're hoping,
it's
yeah, I
like
mean, you're not going to hire an outsider and like transform this defense. That's ridiculous. You're not. That's
unless
not.
you
They
really
don't.
want to tank, then
Yeah, if you. Yeah, exactly. If you really want to be bad on defense, you'll hire Jim Schwartz.
yeah.
Um, like don't entertain that thought. That doesn't happen.
There's
First of
that
all, no.
same front as well. So all the people saying that they wouldn't be two gapping then, they're not fucking two gapping now.
Right. The only
Like
difference is that
so much. It
he
just
ran more he ran more cover two in the back end than
yeah, he
Miami
does like
does.
cover two for a bit, but that's about it.
And but Miami can't really run a ton of that. So um, with their personnel, they can run cover two man, I guess, but then you're going to get shredded in the run game. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, good luck with that. So don't think that they're going to bring anyone from the outside in. The hope is that you fire Coyle and that change of voice just doesn't like frustrate players because you're basically just saying, okay, we're only going to fire Coyle because the players hate him. Like
Yeah.
you're not
But
firing him
then
to
but
expect
then
change.
the new DC would be Duffner, who is Coyle's old friend from
Yeah,
Iowa.
but
Is it
I would
Iowa?
but I don't know.
But I mean, Duffner
You're
did
not.
well recruiting linebackers, so I don't know.
I just don't think like I think that you're just doing that
Players
to
good.
appease the players if you fire him.
Do you want to
And
appease the players?
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, I
To
think
me, it's
having
like I don't think you should reward players who've been playing badly by them getting their
right.
own way when they like made it stunk it up, played really badly against pretty bad teams, and then they've literally been making up excuses. Like that someone's been leaking all this bullshit, like
Right. Like
complete lies about this defense.
whoever's leaking this information, they've got to find out who it is, and they've got to
Yeah,
cut them. They got to get rid of them. And like I know Mike Wallace and Brandon Gibson last year were the two guys that were leaking a ton of shit. I know Brian Hartline was too on offense. Like those, I think it was more so Hartline and Gibson more than Wallace even. But Wallace was a clown inside the doors. And I got a couple stories on that for later. But and again, I'll tell those after I'm out of contract with Bleacher Report at the end of the year. But
we'll have
just
a airing out Ian's laundry
yeah, I mean it's not
episode.
terrible. It's not terrible stuff. It's
Okay.
not stuff that's gonna like shock people. But I just don't want to say stuff about other professionals. You know some of the stuff I think already, Oscar. Um,
Yeah,
but
my DMs were just dirt everywhere.
yeah, so you probably already know. But I just don't want to share that stuff while I'm under contract. So like they've got. I mean, you can't have guys like this in the locker room. You cannot have people going to the media every other week. And we're pretty sure that it was Kenny Stills that was talking about players may quit. Depending on what happens this week
The
because of his
defensive stuff
relationship.
just doesn't make sense. I
No,
don't
it
even.
doesn't. It doesn't. Like that's what I
Yeah.
don't get. Like part of that, and I know, and I'm sure that wasn't Stills because we heard this stuff last year. So obviously that couldn't have been Stills. But like, whoever's leaking this defensive stuff is an idiot. Like
It's
I
just
don't know
so
how,
mental.
like I'm thinking about actually going through the roster and seeing who had like the worst
I've got the
college
Wonderlic
major.
scores. I've got the Wonderlic scores on those
Oh
guys.
man, we might need to go through that.
Okay. But I mean, no one's too bad. Jimmy Wilson, I think. No, Lamar Miller's the worst. A bit. I
Yeah, well,
mean,
it's not him.
no.
It's looking at.
I'll have to look for it. It's on my. I'm still not at home. I'm still in Paris,
Mm,
so I haven't got my database of Wonderlicks on me.
yeah,
But
so we'll check back in next week
okay,
with that because
see who's the dummy.
seriously though, someone's got to be an idiot. Like
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't,
either that or
or it's a slander campaign or something.
and I guess what the other annoying thing is, there's literally people running with this like massive media. And it's like, luckily, there's people like Pro Football Focus actually watch football, and like I think it was Sam was just like, if they're meant to be two gapping, then they're not listening at all to what the coaches are saying, so they're not doing it at all. It's
Right.
like I think I've got like every game it's about 5 snaps where they're two gapping a game, and if that's a problem, if once every 20 snaps is the problem with your defense, then that
Right.
I mean,
That's not that big of a deal.
yeah. Is there anything else? Like, I guess we won't really know much until the staff is announced. So maybe we'll probably have another show on Wednesday because you're going away
Mhm.
for a while, or a week. So we'll do a couple more coaches and do our picks against the spread then. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on this eventful day?
Um, yeah. Do you want to? So let me give you a couple hypotheticals with the draft. Because
Okay.
Neil Driscoll brought this up. Or was it Neil? No, it was Rob Profit. Rob Profit brought it up to me about like draft situations and it's if Miami ends up in the top 6 or 7, who are your biggest targets? Because I mean, obviously, so I'm going to lay them out there, just like the obvious guys for people. So I think the players that Miami should realistically be looking at are Robert Kimdichie, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss, Jalen Smith, the linebacker from Notre Dame, Laramie Tunsil from Ole Miss, and Jalen Smith, or not Jalen, Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle from Notre Dame, and then Joey Bosa, the defensive end from Ohio State. Um, are those the top guys in your mind for this roster? And two, is there someone else that you have in mind?
Um, I would probably try and trade down just because I think you need lots of guys. Although maybe in DK, like I think if I was going for anyone, it would be him just because he's like I think he would be really good next to Sue. He can play like he can play pretty much every position on the
Yeah,
line.
and he added like 30 pounds or something from
Yeah, I think
his
he's
weight
at
from
like
last year to this year.
I think the last time I saw
280 or
him listed
290, I think.
296 I last saw.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Like he
And
is
he's
like
still running like
he's a freak. Yeah,
4.8 40s.
dude's a
Like,
freak. Like
yeah,
like we heard it last year that he was some freak, and I went back and watched him from last year, and I was like,
he's
this dude's
amazing.
getting shoved around. Like he's 260
Oh yeah,
pounds playing defensive tackle. Like this guy's
no, he's
not good.
strange. He was
I
like
watched him
basically,
like
yeah, he looked like an end last year, not anymore.
yeah, yeah, and like I watched like one game of him this year to start the season. I was like, holy shit, this guy isn't even the same guy. Like
Yeah.
this is a freak. Yeah, I'm totally with you there.
So he would be like he's probably my top player at the moment. But so if you can't get him, I kind of like the idea of moving down and getting like I think there's kind of a nice corner group and off-ball linebacker. So if you can try and get like one of the top 3 corners, one of the top 3 off-ball linebackers, maybe like Scooby Wright and Miles Jack being hurt may help you get one of those guys a bit later. Maybe I'd rather Jack than Scooby. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe if you get Miles Jack and say like I don't know, Cameron Sutton maybe, or it
Mm-hmm.
depends like on the defense you're getting. I mean,
Right.
like I know some
That'll
people like
completely
Jalen
change
Ramsey or
the personnel.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, so like I'm going to be like way less specific with draft prospects, depending on like the staff, because like basically my database will go flying out the window where I could like be pretty specific on players. Now those like tendencies will pretty much fly out the window. I have to build a new database, so that's going to kind of change. But like in DK, I think can play everywhere. I think if you get a top 5 pick and he falls to you, you take him. Maybe if you go to, I mean, we might need an edge player if like Dion Jordan's out the window.
Almost assuredly he's
Obi's
going to need
gone.
a. Yeah, almost assuredly he's going to need one if the
And Fide, if you're like a 4-3 under, you'll probably need like I don't think Fide. You need like another. You need a like a an elephant or Leo, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Um, so who would you say is like best suited for that at this class?
Oh,
Um,
see that like that's
it's not as good.
I guess Daddy Nicholas out of Virginia Tech, and maybe that's where
Okay,
you're
yeah, I like
talking.
that. I
That's
think
where you're
Daddy's an
talking to
off
trade
ball though.
down. Yeah, like he's almost like that Anthony Barr type because
Yeah,
he's being used really, really funky in Virginia Tech. They have him two gapping and they have him at like five tech a lot, and it's so weird because he's nowhere near that player. He's going to be that guy that like people hate during the process because
he's actually good.
yeah, like
Yeah,
he's not at all in the right position. And he's to me, I think it's just hard to say because like we haven't seen him as like a pure edge rusher too often. And when we do, it's usually pretty good. But um,
what about Shaq Lawson
Shaq
at
Lawson.
Clemson?
I was really impressed with him last game. I wasn't impressed with him against Louisville. I thought he was more of like a power player than an athletic player. And then the Notre Dame game happened, and he was on point. Like he was excellent. I need to see more of him, but I think he's definitely in that conversation.
Or
Um,
the Michigan State kid?
Calhoun, I don't like Calhoun at all.
No.
No, he's Olivier Vernon to me.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much right. I don't think trying to think who else have I.
I think Bosa
Uh,
would be a tremendous addition, but he's more of like what you kind of already have
yeah,
in Fide. He's a great player, but like don't expect him to be like Cameron Wake. Expect him to be like more of like a Fletcher Cox type. He can do it all, but he's not like a crazy, crazy like disruptive pass rusher. He's a good pass rusher, but not like an elite one. His value really comes in like you literally can't run to his side of the field. He's usually in the backfield, but it's just different with him. He's a creator, but he's not like a freak creator, if that makes sense. He's not the athlete that like some of the freaks are. So I don't think he's a
uh,
top five pick
no.
for Miami.
Who else kind of? Where would you play Joshua Perry? I guess you know him pretty well.
Yeah, I think he's either an outside. He's an outside linebacker, whether it be weak side or strong side. I think you can move him
I'd
around
I'd
with Jelani Jenkins.
I'd probably play him at Sam, or maybe yeah, probably Sam for me.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you can move him around. He's a really nice
yeah,
piece. Darren Lee is probably the more interesting guy on that linebacker crew for Ohio State.
okay.
He's a really good athlete, but he's a better football player than an athlete, which is really exciting because he's a really good athlete. So he's a really good rush linebacker. When they put him down, they put his hand in the dirt sometimes. Sometimes they just have him as like that Leo. So he would really fit well as like you. You hope that he gets to the second round, but I honestly don't know if he would get to the second round. His measurables are going to be kind of important. He might measure in at like 5'11" or 6 foot, so I don't know. It's a really good linebacker class. It's just weird because like if Miami's drafting high,
It's hard to
then
take off ball linebackers that high.
yeah, like
It
you'd have
really
to
is.
trade down. But I'm also like team talent over team
Yeah,
quantity. So like I'm gonna want to take top. If I'm taking top seven, I'm taking
you want
either
the best guy. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm taking either Kimdichie or I'm taking. Some people ask me about Vernon Hargraves. I just think that you missed out on a better corner last year.
Yeah.
So like,
But I mean, I guess you've got to forget about it. I lived like too long rueing that we didn't get Teron Armstead 2 spots before Dallas Thomas. I've let it go now, kind of. Um, but yeah, that still hurts. I mean, maybe if like Adore Jackson came out.
he's really interesting. I want to see more of him. He's a really good athlete.
But I mean, he's so young. I don't know if he
Yeah,
would
he's
come
like
out.
he's like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Um,
Hargreaves, I'm not really a fan of. But
really, I think he's a good fit for what Miami does now.
yeah, yeah, he would.
He struggles with,
He'd probably be
but
in
I'll
it.
say this: like he struggles with college physicality. So like,
And I think that's always like a flag for me.
yeah, like that's a huge flag. He's a smallish guy. Um, and that secondary produces guys that look really, really
Pretty
good in
good.
college,
No, they're not.
and then they're not. So like, and I kind of got burned on that so far on Jalen Watkins, even though I still believe in Jalen Watkins. Um, so like, I would
And
just
we're
be
Team
careful.
Ramsey's a safety, aren't we?
Yeah, I haven't seen him at all at cornerback, but I know his coverage numbers were pretty bad once he faced a real team. He's going to be more athlete than a cornerback, and I don't really like that. So I think he's an elite free safety prospect. So I think, but I'm such a guy though. Like I'm still kind of old school. I feel like I'm old school, but I have like that new school touch. I'm still about like building through the trenches though. So like if you have an opportunity to pair Sue with a guy like Himdichi, like that to me,
Yeah,
I thought the
that's a
same thing as
no-brainer
you.
for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I thought the same thing as you. Like that's dynamite. Like when Nick Fairley and Sue were going like 100% with each other, those guys were incredible. It just makes it so much easier for your defense to do anything that you want. Obviously, you need competent cornerbacks too, but I just don't think that you need to take a cornerback top five unless if they're like the Marcus Peters level,
Yeah,
and that's
which
so
they're not.
rare.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't
they're every
think
5 years.
yeah, and I don't think Hargraves is gonna
No.
be that guy. I mean, he's gonna be probably really good, but I don't think he's gonna be like great Pro Bowl talent player. I mean, I
I
don't
mean,
even know if he's
probably
going to be the number one corner in this class. Honestly, I was watching
no,
Mackenzie
probably not.
Alexander. I think Mackenzie Alexander might be better from Clemson.
Yeah, I like him.
He's
I
kind
really
of got
like
that.
Cameron Sutton. He's like my favorite at the moment.
He's more
But
of like a cover two guy, isn't he?
yeah,
Okay,
probably.
okay, that's
But
okay, and there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
Like, there's nothing. You just have to know what your
yeah.
players fit, and that's all.
But yeah, now I've got like a blank slate. I don't need to think in small boxes anymore. As you can tell, I've literally completely given up on this year.
Yeah.
So
Well,
uh,
I mean, that's what happens though when you fire your coach 4 weeks into the season.
the season's over.
Yeah.
And basically, like, so I guess like my hot take will be on this is like if you can ever envision a situation which you fire your coach within 4 weeks, he shouldn't have had the job. Um,
Right.
so
And that's
yeah,
why I wrote that article last year with like 3 weeks remaining in the season. It's just like it's you just saw the players give
you
up
either
last
commit
year.
or not. Yeah,
Right. You saw the players give up last year. Like things weren't going to change from that. I mean, I had hoped, yeah, I picked this team to go 10-6, and I'm going to be wrong on that because I hoped that this talent was going to transcend the coaching situation, that offensive coordinator was going to,
coaching's got worse as well.
right, coaching's actually gotten worse. Look at the stats I tweeted out this morning. Number one in pass attempts, number one in pressures allowed. They're tied for ninth as far as yards per carry, and yet they're tied for 31st in carries. And
And
they're
three
tied for
games they've been in like one score games for
right,
most of the game.
right. Like
That's just mental.
it doesn't make any sense. And so, it look, I mean
We can beat this
we've done it.
horse
We've
till it's
done it.
dead.
And I'm so sorry to people that listen. Like really trying not to do it, but it's so hard to not come back to it. Like it's brutal. Like every week I'm literally finding worse and worse things like to complain about. And so like the more data I compile and the more film that we watch, it's like, holy shit. I'm not even underestimating this guy. Like he's overwhelming me with like terrible coaching.
Yeah.
So sorry for beating the dead horse.
Um, so I think you're a bit more enthusiastic about this head coach. I just don't really care anymore about this
I mean,
season. So
it's just fun. I mean, I'd rather lose with a guy like that than lose a guy with like Joe Philbin, if that makes sense. Because at least it feels like my head coach like gives a
see,
shit.
I think like the decision is basically like they've like the whole team. I mean, like maybe the team had quit anyway, but this is just basically like admitting that the season's over.
Yeah,
Whereas like at least if you go like if you say like the way I would have approached it is you say to Philbin, it's like, okay, well, like you're probably not gonna make the playoffs, and that was the expectation, so you won't be at the end of the season. Then Philbin goes to the players as like, well, I'm not going to be here at the end of the year, and you're all playing for jobs now, whether it's here or somewhere else, and I'm playing for a job too. Like I want to coach somewhere else at some point, or like still be a coach. That's like the way I would approach it, and then you don't give off like you don't act like you're the Raiders or and like I mean I don't has there ever been sort of what like the Raiders won 3 games last year after
yeah,
firing their coach after the coming back from the London trip. I mean it's like if like your organization has quit, so that's about it.
yeah, yeah,
And it doesn't
yeah. My
matter how
expectations
much
gone. Yeah, so
you rah rah now, it's over.
and it's gonna be tough too. It's gonna be tough for like it's gonna be a rough season for Tannehill fans. Um,
Yeah, he's
I'll just say this, man. Like, there's
to make
really no quarterback outside of maybe Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady that could transcend this situation. I mean, people. I mean, yeah. Is it excuses for Tannehill? Sure. I mean, you can say that. Cam Newton, you can say, yeah, he's doing more with less. I guess you could say that, but like if you actually go down and I've been breaking down his game, he's really not really improved. Just like the timing of his big plays have been happening at a better time, but he's still pretty inaccurate, and he's benefiting from a really good defense, a really weak schedule, and
he's literally carrying the team.
yeah, like, and it's,
Running.
but they've done a good job though, like
Yeah.
at least keeping balance, because that's what's opened up everything for them. Is because with his ability to run and their willingness to run him into the ground, like it's allowing their offense to do a little bit. But again, though, we'll see once they start facing better teams. They've literally faced like 3 shit teams, so we'll see if that continues against playoff contenders. I don't know if it will, but I mean, like outside of like a couple quarterbacks. Like, look at what Tannehill's had over 4 seasons as far as incompetence as an organization and using the talent that they got. Like, yes, they finally got a good receiving team around him. Like, I am a big fan of this receiving core, but he doesn't have any time to get it to him. And, like, people say, oh, well, it's his pocket presence, and he doesn't step up in the pocket. It's like, yeah, he does have those instances where, yeah, he didn't feel the pressure. And
Every player does.
every player has that. But look at this. Look at what I said earlier. He's number one in passing attempts, 171 passing attempts. Ooh, 43.7% of all of his passing attempts, he's facing pressure. Okay, he's tied for 10th in the NFL in sacks. So if he's number one in getting pressured in the NFL, and he's number 10 in sacks,
He's avoiding some of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's think about this with our head. It says that, oh my gosh, like this quarterback's not just a statue in the pocket. He's actually extending plays and getting the ball out quicker.
He's getting pressure from a lot of spots as well. It's not like with quite a lot of quarterbacks, it'll be pressure from one spot and then you've got room to move. Like when there's pressure, he's basically having to
moving into
jump
pressure.
out of tackles over.
Yeah, and you saw it a lot last game too. You saw him getting pushed inside from the tackles, being dominated. Then he's moving right up into a pocket with a defensive tackle right in his lap. So like, it's really difficult to succeed. Like, I don't think you'd find any quarterback succeeding with this type of situation. It's really unfair. And it's not just, I mean, look, has he played well? No. Like, it's not exclusive things. Like, you can have a quarterback that's missing throws and not throwing the ball well, and then not also having a good offensive line in front of him. So it's like, it's not.
I mean, you can't really expect. Like, to me, it's like.
I mean, he's missing some throws. He's missed some throws that he should definitely hit. That you really need to see him hit at some point. But I mean, it's not as big of an issue.
Before we go, shall we talk about like the deep ball, like the Flacco special deep ball pass interferences?
Yeah.
So I mean, they're off target, but like if he knows that they're going to be called, like they're good throws to make, like they're not going to get picked off. And then
you got to take those throws. I'm fine with those throws. Were they great throws? No, but
they could be worse.
Here's the thing. Like the really weird thing for me was like he usually underthrows balls. He was overthrowing everything, which was really strange to me.
He used to overthrow Wallace as well, some and other people. I think he just
especially out of bounds.
It never like one way in which he's inaccurate, which often makes. And there has been times when I've been like charting routes where like that there are odd drops and stuff. I know with Wallace there was some times where
there were some bad drops or bad misplays.
Yeah. So I don't know. So and sometimes like they're like spot throws and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, they're inaccurate throws to begin with. I have Tannehill at 36% on the season as far as accuracy, and that was including like the 5 deep balls that he had last game that were just like kind of just throw off. Yeah, they were throw up, but they still equal
productive.
Yeah, like
the most productive plays of the game.
Right, like they don't go towards stats, but those are still really big parts of the game, and you have to take those chances. Like you can't kill a guy for not taking those chances, and then when he takes those chances, he draws a defensive pass interference call. Like, why are you killing him? Yeah, like why are you killing him for that? Like that's a productive play, and you're giving your guy a chance to make that play.
Instead of it just being a negative, like the alternative is throwing it away if there's nothing else there. I mean, you haven't got all 22 yet to see what was there, but I mean, if you're getting those calls, I mean, at least you're making a positive play out of it. So I'm not, I don't mind those plays at all.
No, not me neither. Me neither. And he's been accurate enough on deep balls.
Yeah, it's
We've
like
seen it throughout his.
40% pretty much before this
Yeah,
game.
yeah. He was probably even higher because he was like 1 of 6 or something on deep balls this game. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was obviously at 16%.
Yeah.
So he was obviously way higher than that entering the game. So I mean, it always balances out in itself. It always ends up working out. So I wouldn't be too worried about like the deep ball misses. It's a low percentage play to start. It really is.
Yeah.
If you want to see a bad deep ball thrower, go watch Ryan Mallett. Ryan
Really?
Mallett gets his
Flacco.
guy killed. Oh yeah, Flacco's
Flacco.
terrible at deep balls. I saw someone say that like he was a good deep ball thrower the other day. Like what? I was like,
Because
what?
he's had like a couple of, because he had like Torrey Smith like hit him, and probably like in like big games where people actually watch every team. But if you
It's
watch, like he
unbelievable.
throws everyone. It's
Yeah, he is
bad.
awful at deep balls, and he has Steve Smith too to fight for him. So, I mean that always helps. But I mean, Miami has Kenny Stills, and Kenny Stills will fight for him eventually when they get him the chance. But I don't know. I wouldn't. Don't worry about Tannehill too much. It's going to be a rough season for him. His stats are going to go down um, as long as things don't change. But you've got a good quarterback, guys.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that. I mean,
But
I don't put
if you want
together.
to like if you want to be like positive of anything of the last 3 years, it's like half the battle's done. You found the quarterback. Like
Right.
that's
Now
at
you just
least
gotta
you can
now you
win
just
a
gotta
Super
build
Bowl with
around him.
this quarterback.
Yep. Now you just
Like,
gotta build around him. I mean,
yeah,
they've invested the talent. They've invested the resources into the talent. You're just not getting rewarded on it yet. And
maybe not smartly in some cases.
yeah, and that's but definitely part of it. I mean, Dallas
So
Thomas and guys like that. I mean,
the only time they invested in linebackers, they were awful, and it seemed like
yeah,
spur of the moment. And
yeah.
I don't know.
So I mean, part of it is what it is. I know you and I were high on Billy Turner and Jamil Douglas, and
Jamil's
I
been
don't think,
awful.
yeah,
He's the
yeah,
worst offensive lineman out there. For all the
yeah,
people that hate Dallas Thomas, like Jamil Douglas has been much worse. But I
yeah,
mean, he's never played right guard. What do you expect? He's played for like a month now. So I don't know. I
yeah,
wasn't expecting him to be good, and it's like I've talked and at length about how it's very different, and you're on an island. So I don't know, but we'll see. Um, so maybe we'll see like some sort of changes if it's going to be about physicality. Then maybe Billy gets put out there. I mean, he
yeah.
could,
I mean, the good thing is like he's a competitor. You heard Campbell talking about competition. I mean, that might open the door for Turner because he's a guy that he does work hard and he does. I mean, people might not see it, but like I know that guy works hard. Like I saw his work ethic during the Senior Bowl. I have no doubts about that guy's work ethic. There might be other issues that he has, but I don't think work ethic's one of them. So, I
well,
think
his dad was in the league, and like they have a gym in his basement that like all his friends would go to and work out in. Like I
yeah,
think,
like everything just adds up. Like to like I think he's a high football character player. I don't know about high football intelligence, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I know that we were high on those guys. They are struggling, and maybe we had overshot what they would be able to do, or especially Thomas, or not Thomas, Douglas, maybe overshot what he could do right away. But I think a new coaching staff, if it's the right coaching staff, which we're going to get to another couple good candidates next week, or another good candidate in Hugh Jackson. I shouldn't say Mangini, but Hugh Jackson's a good candidate.
also like both of them to me, they're like better coordinators and head coaches. So, but then you've got to, because they're both coordinators at the moment, you've got to give them, if you want them,
Right.
you've got to make them head coaches. But
And then
anyway,
kind of the way that like you get over that is hiring really good coordinators underneath them.
yeah.
Um, but yeah. Anyways, we'll get to that.
Then you don't need, yeah.
But yeah, so just don't. The season's basically over. let's just keep that in mind. Things are going to look ugly. They're going to look really ugly for a while. Just try to take some pride in that. This team can be built upon. There are major positives to sell to the next regime. A high draft pick is probably the best thing that this team could use. They've got a full allotment of draft picks and an extra one for Will Davis. So who hasn't really been as good as people think that he has been in Baltimore. I took a look. It's not that
It's
special.
pretty bad.
I'll try to get a chart out about him this week. Um,
I know it's not like our nickel corners have been the problem.
right, exactly. Like Miami has some good nickel corners. So like, and by the way, they're not playing one of their nickel corners that's probably going to be good anyways, Bobby McCain. So like, nickel corners are
He did
not what
play.
Miami
He
needs.
played a little bit. He was
Did
out
he?
there.
I
Yeah.
didn't really notice him too much the second half. I was just kind of like, ugh.
Let me just check. I remember I dotted down a couple of times he played. Yeah, 10 snaps.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, hopefully they can see.
Missed the tackle.
That's what you want though. Like you're gonna eventually
Yeah,
want to see
gonna blood them. It's
Bobby
time to
McCain
blood the
play
kid.
over. Yeah, you're gonna want to play Bobby McCain over Bryce McCain. You're gonna want to play Walt Aikens over Michael Thomas. Like
Day
now's
over OV.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. You're definitely gonna want to get Billy Turner in there, maybe even at left tackle. Um, you
I mean,
know,
you may as well just play Phillips and just like. I mean, he's going to be terrible, but you may as well just like
over Mosley. I
yeah,
mean,
or Mitchell.
I wouldn't be surprised if Miami starts like calling around on some players, seeing if they can trade Miller.
Yeah, Miller, OV, the guys with expiring contracts, you may as well get like third day picks for.
Yeah, you're probably looking at like
Her
sixth
Missy,
round
if you can
picks.
trade to someone that's losing
Actually, you
linebackers.
know what? Miami might not want to do that because, like we talked about with, well, I was talking about this with Bill Rossetti on Gridiron Graduates, but Miami's going to get a compensatory pick
Okay, for OV and Miller,
for
yeah, that's a
Ovia
good point.
Miller.
But
So
then
so
you've got to
yeah,
wait 2 years for those.
yeah. So maybe they
And
take
then
like
if you're
like
going at, if your intentions are to spend in free agency, you're not going to get those comp picks anyway.
right.
So you may
So
as well.
that's something to at least consider. Um,
I mean, we know Miami are going to spend in free agency, so you may as well try and get draft picks for them instead of nothing.
right.
So we're not getting anything for Audric and everyone that left last year because you spent a ton on Sue. So I don't expect Miami to stop spending in free agency. So I'm not going to expect compensatory picks either.
Right. Compensatory.
Oh, compensatory.
Sorry. Yeah, I butchered it too. I'm
Um,
thinking more that I'm talking. So, um,
I guess Shelby as well. Maybe you want to trade because I doubt he's going to get re-signed.
he may honestly be like the most valuable because he can do so many
He's a,
different things.
yeah.
Like Ovi, he's had such bad effort and such bad like effectiveness this year. Like he's probably not even a guy like you will even want to play.
And
At
I
this,
mean, it's like we've been talking about how he's like he like people were saying he was underrated, then that somehow made him like really, really overrated. And it was just sack numbers. And like I don't think he's had a sack in like 10 games, and that's coincided with Wake basically being bad,
right.
which is not a coincidence. But yeah, OV isn't good. I mean, I've been saying it for like 2 years now. He's good in nickel inside Russia, which we don't do anymore. So I don't know. Um, anyway, we've been sad for long enough. So for the bye week, we'll do our against the spread picks. We'll do, I think, 3 or 4 more head coaching candidates, and we'll do our NBA preview, which I think will be over under picks for the season. So my last hope in competent sports team, although Ipswich there's still time for them to turn it around. Had a slump, but they're only 3 points out of the playoffs to get back into Premiership. But the Kings start preseason, so I've got something to hope for.
Yep.
Ian, you've got a slightly easier way to glory with the Cavs, basically having the Eastern
Yeah,
Conference title
we'll walk.
already,
We'll walk into the finals, but
unless LeBron
it's
dies, which you never know.
it's so weird because like I don't even like LeBron because of like what he did and like how he's done it to like two teams and like I mean I wasn't surprised by it the second time, but like I don't like the guy. He just plays for my favorite team now, so I root for him. Like it's so weird
And
because I used to
literally everything is reliant on him.
yeah, like and
For it,
I
so.
fucking hate how they play now. Like
Yeah, it's so
I don't
horrible.
I don't like how they play so like iso ball. I really hate it. And
just putting Love in the corner. It's just
right.
wasting so much talent.
I mean, he's been really, really good in that role. Like
Yeah, he's good, but it's
he's
just like
super efficient. Yeah, and like as far as like
it's
the
waste.
offense, like when they have Kyrie and Love in the game, and then Mozgov too, or actually I think Thompson's usually like the most effective one. Like their efficiency ratings are insane. Like when those guys are playing together, it's just like you really can't compare them to most teams historically. Like they're like a top five offense historically. Um, so it's interesting. Like I mean, I love watching them, but like the pressure to win for them is just so crazy. So it's like I almost enjoyed being an underdog more. You know, like watching LeBron growing up. So obviously, I was like a huge LeBron fan growing up because he was like, you know, do no wrong. I was like Ohio kid, and we didn't know how much of a douchebag he is. Um, and then like obviously the decision happens, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like that was like a moment for me, like when I changed. It went from like I don't care what the name on the back of the jersey is. I really don't. I just care who's playing for the front of the jersey. So like that's why like these people that like come into my mentions with like huge Tannehill hate, I'm just like I really don't care what your argument is, dude. Like this is why I chart all this stuff because you can't just sit there and say, well, he's not an accurate quarterback when I've
When
got
you yeah,
when I've got
evidence.
32 quarterbacks data and 4 different games so far in this season of data to point and say, well, this is a top 10 accuracy guy. Like it doesn't like that's why I do that because like I really don't have a dog in the fight. Like if Miami were to trade Tannehill, it would suck because I think he's a good quarterback, but like okay, like I'm not attached to the guy. I mean, I root for guys I liked in the draft, but guess what? If I'm wrong on a guy, then I'm wrong. It is what it is. Like I'm not gonna hate a guy because I didn't like him in the draft. Joe Hayden's like the only guy I don't like in the NFL. So, and I'm trying to make that up to Browns fans because I'm writing a really good article on Travis Benjamin right now. So,
He's been good.
yeah, yeah, he's gonna,
That crosser was really impressive. That way, just like plucked perfectly.
yeah, yeah, he's a good player. Like I'm really impressed with how he's developed, and he's gonna get a nice contract this offseason.
All right. Well, I think we've spoken enough about that horrible, horrible day yesterday.
Yeah,
Um,
don't expect it. Don't expect the Twitter breakdown. Like in
yeah,
case you didn't miss it, I didn't do one last week either because it's such a shithole. I really don't want to see it.
yeah. I'm going to stop charting the routes because I don't think lasers are going to call plays again in the NFL, so they're not really
Yeah,
useful. So here's to another 12 horrible weeks.
that's right. Only 3 more months, folks.
Yeah.
You
Um,
waited all 8 months of the off season to see this shit.
yeah. Um, fuck, it's so annoying. Anyway, sorry for. I mean,
Eh, you
we'll
should come to
still watch the
expect it.
games and break
Yeah,
down people, and
yeah, I'll probably do like
we'll
offensive breakdowns or like I'll just watch and just like post some things on
yeah.
Twitter, but it won't
And
be
here
like 3 hour ones.
yeah here we'll just talk about like I like the young guys under contract for a long time, and like we're not really learning much else about this team. Not much is going to be like other than the offensive side of the ball. Um, but the scheme's going to be different. I mean, it's all going to be different.
Yep.
So there you go. Everything's pointless from here on out. so, so you may as well start drinking. So I'm going to go do that now. And if you've, yeah, you can follow the show at Miami Pod. This will be. Thanks for listening. If you listened live, and this will be up later today if you want to listen to it again for some God for known reason. Thanks for everyone that's been enjoying it. Lots of kind words, and yeah, we'll keep doing them, even and trying to make things good, even if the things we're watching are awful. Anyway, goodbye.